Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a follow-up show for you today. We are kicking back off from a story we left off from last week with some folks from East Tennessee. Shelly Hammonds, our lieutenant colonel. Jeff Prater, Region 4 lieutenant. Justin Pinkston, wildlife officer in Region 4, and Mr. Matt Cameron, our communications coordinator and officer there. He's helping me co-host today, but we're reflecting on the events of Hurricane Helene today. And last week we touched on one of the first stories that involved these four in front of me, and we're going to keep that story rolling, but then we're going to touch on another one and just continue to share of how it affected that area and how it affected these guys in front of me. And they were recently honored with a Valor Award at a commission meeting in Memphis, Tennessee, and we're just proud of them, proud of the work that they do and the 100% above and beyond efforts that they give to help people and wildlife, and they give 100% in their job, and we just appreciate the work that they do and want to highlight them here today. So we left off last week with Dave Fender Road. Jeff was telling us about a rescue going on there, and all these guys are involved in that. Shelly's holding the boat to the fence, making sure it doesn't roll away, and Justin's keeping the engine running, and it's clogging and struggling there, and Jeff's in the water trying to rescue this guy and his animals. And so we're going to pick it up there and let you continue that story, Jeff, so everybody can just catch up on that, and then we'll continue through. Yeah.
So I believe that I just talked about that the beagle had gone by me, and I swam over and got the dog, and I was making my way back to the boat, and Brian had made his way down to the doorway, and he started yelling that he was stuck.
And Brian's the guy in the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I got the dog back to the boat, and I'm going to pass it back to Justin here.
Yeah, so after Prater Michael Phelps, after the second dog swimming across the yard, Brian started yelling, "I'm pinned." And so I can see him kind of in the corner on the other side of the door, and he's yelling, "I'm pinned." He's screaming. And I looked at Shelly, I was like, "You got the boat?" And she's like, "Yes." So I pulled the kill switch off, and I jumped in and got to him, and my thought process was, all right, he's pinned. I'm going to pull him out into this fast water. He's got a life jacket on. I got a hold of him. He's going to come right to me, get Prater back in the boat. We're back to safety. Well, I was able to grab him with my right hand and pull him out into the doorway, and when I did, he just stopped, just hard stop. And he's like, "I'm pinned." And I'm like, "What's pinning you? It's white water right here." And I reached my hand up under, and he had a 2x4 come through horizontally, and I mean, it landed perfect, just waist level in the door. So he's stuck, bent over it, and I'm keeping his head out of water, and stuff inside the house is piling up behind him. And I'm telling him to flip over, and he can't get his legs up. And what felt like an eternity is only a couple of minutes. Prater was able to make his way back up there. We was both kind of trying to figure something out, and I was pushing on this board. I mean, couldn't move it. It was welded to the house. I was trying to pick up, push back, couldn't move it. And eventually, I was like, I got to go underwater or something. I got to get under this board, like the clock's ticking on this guy. And I was able to get about chin deep in the water and get my hands up under that board and kind of squat it up. And man, you talk about divine intervention. I swear, God and angel, someone helped me pick it up, because from not being able to move it to I was Hercules, it picked right up. Wow. And here he come flying out of the doorway into Prater's arms and caught him. He got wrapped up in the rope, and we got him free, and he had to rest for a second. He just went through an extremely stressful, strenuous incident right there.
That water and everything. Yeah.
I mean, he was whipped. So I got back up in the boat. Lieutenant Colonel still holding on to the house, holding a 1860 John boat by herself. Get back up in the boat, get Prater up in the boat, and get Brian in the boat. So we've got 3 of us and 2 dogs, and we're about overloaded in this boat.
From head to toe.
Yeah, I mean, wet. So And at this point, I look up, and there's one power pole left in the field up. The block building's falling that we're beside of.
Because you rescued a guy off that block building.
Yeah, it's down.
Yeah.
Almost completely. It's hollow.
Mm-hmm.
Just the sides are holding it. There's one power line up. I'm like, we have to go now. And we were able to take off. Motor's still not running 100% because the silt. We was able to, we went 5-10 feet from that power pole to avoid the power lines. And we're getting passed by hay bales, by fabric. And
houses.
Yeah, I was like, just trust me, we're going to make it back. The big man's with us. And we got nothing in the prop. We made it all the way back, limping. The boat was running probably 75% just because it couldn't suck enough water to cool itself. And thankfully, we was able to make it back. And then we was like, great, we saved people. We decompressed a little bit. Like, let's find out where we need to go. And we kind of learned that we were trapped. A couple of bridges had fallen, and we were kind of stuck on an island there for a bit. Water was across the road where we come in at. And we kind of went up the road to, I believe, Fender's little produce stand. And me and Prater had to clean out our Glocks because they were solid mud.
Y'all go in equipment and everything.
Yeah, we had everything on, life jackets. So everything was soaked. You about couldn't have pushed a pencil through Prater's barrel of his gun. Wow. So we cleaned our Glocks out in a cattle trough right there beside the road. And then some individuals came up and they was like, hey, there's 15 people stuck on a barn down here. And we was like, all right, part 2 of this rodeo.
So at this point, you're about to go rescue some folks off of a roof. Mm-hmm. Is this the same boat?
Same boat.
Running 75%, just trusting that it's gonna go.
Yeah, so we went up there and found out that there was 15 people trapped on a barn. We was using our binos, and there was 2 people stuck in a tree up above it. And, the water was probably 10, 12 feet up this tree, and these 2 guys are up in the top of this tree. So we backed the boat in, and Matt was there with me, and
so at this point, Matt's come.
Matt there with us.
This spot.
We showed up at the other spot and saw them coming back in with Brian and his 2 dogs, and they were decompressing. There was a sigh of relief. They had made this rescue, and it was they're joking about it, and I really had no idea what had just went down. I knew they were wet, knew they got in the water, but I'm like, Jeff, you wade out in the water, you get somebody, put them in the boat, and you bring them back. No, you see what went down.
It was amazing.
Madness. So we're talking and chit chatting, and I'm just amazed at everything. So it kind of gassed me up a little bit. I'm like, man, I want to help somebody too,
Yeah.
And so we ended up there at that produce stand. That's when that guy came and got us, took us up there, and pulling in. It's like the only way I can describe what we saw was like an apocalyptic movie scene. Like you see a barn, it's probably a quarter mile away.
It's a ways out there.
People on it doing this, and you can like look up in the tree. There's people in a tree, and there's a guy on the shoreline there handing me a phone, and it was a man that owned the farm, and he's like begging, "Can you help our people? Can you go? I'll pay you anything you want us to pay." We're like, "Bro, we're here to help, man. If we can help, we will." Yeah. And we said, "Well, there's some guys in a tree. We're going to try to get them first, and we'll see." After that, we figured they were the priority because we felt like that tree would probably go before.
As a Bradford pair.
Yeah, we've cussed them things up one side and down the other.
Those break with a 10-mile wind or something. Yeah, it's
still there to this day.
Yeah,
believe it or not. But anyway,
so we backed the boat in. Cameron's standing there, and he has this look in his eyes, like, Matt, get in the boat, like, let's go. And so many people, all of us couldn't go, and I need someone to help me in the boat. So I was like, let's take 2 because there's a lot of people who are going to be making trips. And I tested the boat, and we were in a tomato field with some slack water, and boat's running great. 100%. And I was like, well, I must have blew out what was in the engine.
Miracle, yeah.
And still, I'm not processing, like, out there in that fast water, that silt is way up in the water column, and that engine can't run properly. But over here in the slack water, perfect. Just leisurely boat ride, running 100%. I'm doing donuts in the field. It's running good. So I felt like we were safe to go. Well, me and Matt take off, and I don't know if Matt heard me or not, but man, I kind of felt some peace a little bit. And I just quoted some scripture of Isaiah 6:8. And just the latter part of it, I said, "Here am I, send me." But really it was, "Here are we, send us." But I just, good Lord's watching out for us.
And I share the same faith. When I heard him quote a scripture, it whatever fear you had at that moment leaves, and it's just go time. You just go and do. I had no idea what was going to happen, but here we went.
Yeah. And we made it to the tree, got these two individuals in the boat, and it kind of, a lot of debris was building up around this tree. And we got them in the boat, and as I was backing up, like, I just went dead. Boat completely dead.
Wow.
Matt was able to grab onto a limb that had kind of piled up. And what had happened is I'd backed into a log about the size of my forearm, and it wedged itself between the pods on the back and in between the prop of the boat, and I was just dead in the water. And so I had to raise up the boat. Matt's pulling a Shelly, holding on to the boat and the tree, because, I mean, if we go loose, we're going down the river. And at the time, we didn't know this, because I'm not from Washington County, neither's Matt. We didn't know how close we were to the river. We was 50 yards from the main river.
And that's where the harder currents are flowing, yeah.
We're in pretty swift water, but if we was 50 feet to our left, cannot run a boat. Yeah. No boat you can run in that speed of water. So if we get out there, we're in trouble. And thankfully, I'm able to kick, push, get that limb out. Motor starts up. We take back to the shore, and it starts dying one more time. Boat kind of stalls, dies. I turn the key, turns right back on, rev it, blow the silt out of the engine, and off we go again. So we get to the bank, and we drop those two individuals off, and me and Matt's like, I was like, Matt, I don't think we can go again. Like, we're going to get out there in the boats. I'm afraid it's not going to start back. After messing with it a little bit, letting the engine cool off, went back out in slack water, did a couple of donuts. She's running 100%. I was like, Matt, I asked Matt, I was like, you want to go back with me? And he's like, Matt's like, I'm in with you. I trust you. So we made another trip back out, and big barn, and the water's up to the hayloft of this one barn already. So it's first floor is underwater.
Yeah.
And we're kind of navigating between the barn and some shipping containers, getting some slack water. And there's 15 people on top of the barn. And Matt's like, how many think we can take? 3 or 4? I was like, let's do 3. I think we can operate with 3. So we pull up, first 3 hop in, back out, and on the way back, it dies twice. And got it started back the first time. Second time, we're kind of drifting a little bit, and there's a corner we have to make to get in slack water. And if we don't make this corner, we're going down the river. And the second time, it was struggling to start. Finally kicks back in, and this boat literally, if the water was moving 15 mile an hour, the boat was doing 16 and a half. And we limped around the corner, got to safety, and it hurts to be in that situation of we can't go back. There's 12 more people on that barn, and there's no way. This boat's done. Turns out, afterwards, learned that we'd spun the prop and overheated the engine. Well, I spun the prop, overheated the engine, but she got us back.
Yeah.
So we had to sit there and watch 12 people on the barn praying that it wasn't going to go down. And then miraculously, I don't know how they found out, but here comes a THP helicopter. And they were able to start making rescues. We loaded the boat up and set up a LZ, and they was able to get every single person off the barn. And the owner of the farm, the manager, can't remember, he was the last person. He sent all of his workers before him, and he was the last person out because he wanted to make sure all of his people got out.
So that was a friend of the owner, Javier's the man that owns it. This is Joshua Clayton. I became pretty good friends with the man. Probably ought to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
He's got an incredible story to tell about his experience of ending up flooding out of that house, busting out a window, daisy chain from the guys on top of the barn, the workers form a daisy chain, catch him and this woman that's with him as they drift by. They sit on top of a John Deere tractor, top of a barn for hours and hours waiting to be rescued. So he's got an incredible story to tell. But yeah, he came off last. He's a Army veteran. He made sure everyone was safe before him. I tip my hat to him for that. But that was a quick version of what all happened right there, but it was incredible. It was, once again, by the grace of God, that I believe the same helicopter or crew that had been helping the folks upriver in Unicoi County at the hospital. There was 50-something people that they rescued up there. I believe they were coming down the river looking for other folks to rescue. They saw the folks on top of that barn, landed on it, and I've got some footage that one of the workers sent me that we have permission to use from that perspective of this chopper landing and them getting in it and flying back over. It kind of puts it in perspective of just how crazy and dire that situation was.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, Shelly, you're proud of your team, your region for stepping up out there and doing the work that they did. And Matt, you were saying off camera earlier, there was times where they were telling Shelly to go home because she was running on fumes, right? Or adrenaline one, but
I'm sure it was both, and I'll let her tell you, but she had been there over 24 hours. We're trying to set up a command post in the center, EOC. We're learning all these new terms there. I don't think any of us had a real experience of a disaster relief type situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, she'd been there a long time. We're like, Shelly, please go home. And she looked me in the eye. She said, Matt, I'm from here, and these are my people, and I'm not going home.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, yes, ma'am, step back and salute and let her do her thing. And she may have left for a few hours there one time and got some sleep for over the course of several days. She might have slept a few hours, but she was a rock star and knocked it out of the park. So
she won't say this, but like when I was talking about we were trapped, finally the water dropped down enough and bridges were out. We had to take back roads up the mountain to get to Cocke County. And me being from Greene County, I was like, hey, I think I can get us down some goat paths, like some roads that not many people know, and I can at least get us like South Greene, a little bit closer to Cocke County. And Major's like, if you can, Lieutenant Colonel now, if you can get us there, I can get us the rest of the way. And there was cops blocking the road, like, you can't go that way. And I was like, I think we can. And he's like, well, we'll let you try. And there was normal citizens following us up these goat path, gravel roads. And when I got us halfway, Lieutenant Colonel got us the rest of the way to Cocke County. And that's when all of this broke out of. It was like, well, we're to Cocke County. There's work to be done. And she kind of really let her leadership quality shine at that point.
That's awesome.
You going to say anything?
She's being quiet.
You better, because I'm going to jump in if you don't.
So I will say at the same time this is going on, we had officers in Unicoi County that were trying to make rescues. They were evacuating people, but they were trying to make rescues, and they were having to stand there and watch people may or may not be able to be rescued because they couldn't get their boats out there to them. And also in Cocke County, at the same time, we had a lot of officers out there that were evacuating people along the Pigeon River and the French Broad. They were coming up really, really fast. So by the time we were leaving Washington County, we knew we needed to head back to Cocke County. That's where the critical flooding was still occurring. I won't say the Nolichucky, it was going down a little bit. I mean, the water was receding. We were able to get out, but it was kind of maybe paused, like that emergency response in Unicoi was kind of paused. Not that people were necessarily out of danger, but it wasn't getting worse.
Okay.
So when we headed back to Cocke County, we got there, and I think it was late of an evening, 10 o'clock maybe, when we got back to Cocke County, and we were still sending guys out to try to make rescues, and it was mostly by foot. We had our boats with us. We did use some UTVs in some situations, but a lot of it was by foot, wading in.
Shallow enough to where you could make the rescue.
Shallow enough, waist deep, and it was current.
Yeah,
it was water that was, current water. There was some flow to it, but it wasn't like the middle of the river where it's 5 to 10 foot swells like we had seen, up along the Nolichucky, and you could see in the Pigeon too. It was nasty. But our guys that were in Cocke County and Unicoi, they saved lives. 100%.
Oh yeah, there's some stories we haven't heard yet. I'm sure we'll share more of these, but yeah. There's like you mentioned, they're there watching and just can't because of the situation, but wanted to. Right.
But even just evacuating people, they save lives because a lot of people lost everything.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people are still displaced.
Even TWRA family, I've heard some stories, and I don't know if we want to share those or not, but like some folks lost part of their homes, some Century Farms, and things that have been in the family for years, and it's tough on everybody.
George Birdwell, Steel Hollow Farms, Greene County, house built in 1860. Civil War area, historic register home. It's got 10-foot ceilings in it. Water was in the second floor, 6 feet in the second floor. of this home. It was incredible. Every other house that would have been flooded that way would not still be there had it not been built when it was and how it was built, with 200-year-old chestnut, old growth framing in it. It's miraculous. Now, it destroyed a lot of stuff inside of it. We've all been up there. A whole army of TWRA officers and staff came up and helped them clean that home out, family heirlooms. I mean, their entire belongings were drenched in Nolichucky River water and flood, and it's incredible to see that the outpouring of support. George's been very vocal and appreciative of that, and they had to tear down part of that house. They're rebuilding the rest of it, but that's just one of many that have been affected up through there. And once again, that house is still there because of when and how it was built. Other people's homes gone, every stitch of everything they own, every photograph, every memory is probably in Douglas Lake somewhere, to be honest with you. It received a lot of that debris. So you can't, if you're not familiar with what all went down here, you cannot wrap your mind around the devastation over such a large geographic area, North Carolina all the way downstream, hundreds of miles, dozens of counties, hundreds if not thousands of people affected, and their lives will never be the same because of what happened there. And I've never been more proud to be a TWRA officer. I think they would probably share that sentiment. Justin was talking about off camera, the army of green trucks and silver trucks now come from all over the state to help out people, perfect strangers they'd never met, probably never see again in this time of need. So what we did got recognized. I realized that a lot of it's because of the camera footage. Shelly, I'm going to give her a shout out. She's able to hold that boat and video these two in the water getting Brian out of that house. Mind-blowing footage. I'm the PR guy, the camera guy. I didn't get any footage of anything because I'm in the boat hanging on, hoping I don't go overboard, and Justin's got to rescue me, so I didn't dare let go and get my camera out. So props to you for what you did.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to make sure that our leadership here in Nashville understood what we were doing and how critical it was to get more officers to us. We needed more help. I mean, this was a once in a several 100-year, 1,000-year flood, and we needed everybody we could send. So. Yeah.
Well, and at the commission meeting, they were reflecting on y'all's efforts and everyone's efforts. And I know Dale Grandstaff and Matt Majors were all, they were calling in and checking in and making sure you had what you needed. And I know the Director Maxedon showed up and was there to support and help do what he could or get the teams out there that needed to be. So I think it was a great effort statewide. I mean, I saw people's faces from Region 1 out there, working and helping. And so it's amazing how everybody stepped up. And again, y'all put in it's hard to describe the work and the effort that y'all put in. So just know it was amazing, and we very much appreciate it. Now, Jeff, you were going to say something if Shelly didn't. Did you want to share?
Yeah, she's very humble, and I thought she might hit on it, but I steered her and she went down a different trail. But what I wanted to say is, from my perspective, I was involved on that Friday and that real critical incident, and then after that, I worked in Unicoi County for a couple of days doing trying to look for recovery. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up in the EOC in Greene County. So what I wanted to say from my perspective is the leadership that I observed from Shelly throughout this was just amazing, considering that I know she doesn't have a lot of experience or maybe any experience in it. So I got to watch her, the communication with the support from the director's office and the colonel's office, and then all the relationships she was building with all of these sister agencies. And then she's got stuff going on in 4 different counties, maybe more. So there was a boat accident in Granger. Right, yeah. So I just wanted to say, from my perspective, the kudos of the leadership that she showed and the support from the director down was amazing. And I feel like the relationships that were built are going to continue. And if we ever run into this scenario again, they're going to reach out because they know what assets we have. And I feel like that she did an amazing job.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt that you guys are prepared. The training that we go through. I mean, you're probably you're the freshest officer in this group. And did you go through the academy
I was 001.
Okay, the first academy here with the agency. That just goes to show the training and everything that's put in there, and teaching you guys how to act in these situations, or not control them, but just go to work in them and make things happen. It's the agency's got some good things going here. Great people, great work. Yeah.
Else about this is not a flex, but we're not a rescue agency. Yeah. That's not what we're out there to do, and we're not really geared for the type of incident that specifically that they put themselves into, getting Brian out of that home. Should we be? Do we need more training? I mean, who can ever predict when and where something like that's ever going to happen again to put us in that position to do what we did? But I just commend them so much for their selfless acts of heroism. They did what they had to do. They've all said they'd do it again if it happened tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And some people have been critical of us putting ourselves in that environment, and I get that. We really didn't belong out there. I mean, me and Shelly and Jeff we ain't spring chickens no more. I'll just be honest with you. Justin is, but I fed off of seeing them. I hired in with Jeff in 2003, known Shelly forever. Justin's young and full of piss and vinegar, if I can say that. I fed off that. I'm like, if they're going to do it, I'm going to do it with them. And man, we'll give God all the glory for allowing us to be there at the right place at the right time and have just enough boat and brains, or lack thereof, to be able to do what we did and to help some folks out. And it's something I'm eternally grateful for. Don't forget these people that are still affected by this, that lost everything they own. People in California that are going through something similar, only in a different way with the fires out there. None of us are promised tomorrow. You live every day like it's your last. Live it to the best that you can. Be prepared. I don't want to go get too religious on you, but
if I can, you said selfless and enough attention of us, but the officers across the state that said at a drop of a hat, told their families goodbye, I gotta go, don't know when I'll be home, and they hopped in the gray truck and pointed her east to come help. And that just speaks tremendously about this agency, and I'm extremely honored to be one of the few. So
and then those families that are at home, praying and that their loved ones come home.
One more thing, they didn't realize what was going down. That video made it onto Facebook. Jeff's wife saw him and water coming over his head, and dogs and people, and it got real pretty quick, I guess, for her, didn't it?
Yeah. Thankfully, I was able to get in touch with her fairly quickly.
Yeah, good.
Let her know that everything was all right. But yeah, she figured it out by social media.
Yeah. That's always great. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my. Well, I appreciate you all sharing, being willing to open up, and thank you for the amazing work that y'all do in normal day situations and the situations that we've discussed today. So, if you want to keep helping, just you mentioned this earlier, just keep reminding people of these stories, and if you see a need, jump in, help them out. If you want to read more about this, the work that these guys have done, guys and gals, you can subscribe to our magazine. There's an article in there that we recently put out, but just stay connected with us, and we appreciate y'all tuning in and watching and listening. This is Tennessee WildCast, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Join us as we celebrate 75 years of conservation in our great state.